Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to do a different kind of video. I'm going to be showing you my vinyl collection. And just a warning ahead of time, a lot of these belong to my dad, and he's no longer with us. Uh, and they were kept in the basement for a long time, so a lot of them got water damaged. So, I took out the ones I really wanted, and the rest were donated. So these are the ones I have. There's some that I've bought too, sort of recently, but I kind of slowed down on buying vinyl because I'm working on getting a better turntable. So once I get that, I'm going to be buying some more. But I'll show you the ones I got. I got a good amount. I got like a box over here. I don't know if I'm going to show you all of them, but I'll show you the ones that are noteworthy, in my opinion. So yeah, I'll get started on that. Thanks to the Rustic Reviewer for giving me the inspiration to do this. A fellow YouTuber, you should check him out if you haven't seen him. He does some good reviews on some interesting music. So if you're into that, check him out. So let's get started here. Got a box right here. I gotta grab them and look. Okay, right here I got the American pressing of Aftermath by the Rolling Stones. The songs are definitely different. Uh, yeah. See, there's like the track listing is definitely different than the British one. The British one is better. I'm saying that right now. Painted Black, one of their biggest songs, is not in the British version. That was just a single. I've mentioned before how in England they used to release songs on singles that they wouldn't put on albums because they felt they were cheating the customer by putting songs they already bought on a single on an album. So, and a lot of bands like the Beatles and the Stones and bands like that, they had different versions of their albums in America than they did in England. The Who, too, for their first couple albums. So, see what else we got here? Got the Notorious Bird Brothers by the Byrds. Now, this album isn't a real popular one by the Byrds. People know Mr. Tambourine Man, Turn, 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 Fifth Dimension, Younger Than Yesterday, which are all great albums. But this is probably my personal favorite. This is their fifth album. This is the back. And this is the last one with David Crosby having any input into it. He's only on a few songs. I actually have the Columbia Legacy CD special edition of this album, and there's some more David Crosby songs, some extra songs put onto that. But I don't know if you like the Byrds, check out the Notorious Bird Brothers. It's a really, really good album. It's right before they went country in the late 60s, so it's their last real Byrds album, in my opinion. I know some people love the country stuff, and some of the songs are good, but the first five albums is the Byrds to me. Those are the necessary albums to have, in my opinion, as far as the Byrds go. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got Beggar's Banquet by the Rolling Stones, which is very yellowed. I mean, it's a white album, not the white album by the Beatles, but it's a white cover, which is definitely going to yellow. This is the back. Back looks a little better than the front. It is a gatefold. So here's that. How that looks. Pretty cool. You can't really get it all in the screen, but yeah. Great, great, great Stones album. Sympathy for the Devil's on it. Great stuff. Now this is one I bought myself. Yeah, it's Little Games by the Yardbirds. The Yardbirds, if you don't know, they were kind of the precursors to Led Zeppelin. I mean, they started out as blues rock with Eric Clapton. They moved on to Jeff Beck as a guitar player, and then they ended up with Jimmy Page. This is as the main guitar player. This is the only album they released with Jimmy Page as the guitar player, the main guitar player. There was a time when him and Jeff Beck were both in the band, and Jeff Beck moved and played a little bass. No, not Jeff Beck. I forgot his name, Chris Drasia, moved to bass, I believe, and then Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page both played lead guitar, if you can imagine that. They only recorded a few songs like that, but it was great. But yeah, this is a rare mono version of this album, and it has I Remember the Night on it, which isn't on the normal one, and Puzzles, which is the B-side to the Little Game single. There's a picture, you can see Jimmy Page right there, and it's really a great album. I mean, this is one of the most underrated albums of the '60s, in my opinion. This album wasn't even released in England because the Yardbirds' popularity had waned so much in England, but it was still kind of up there in America. And this really is a precursor. This album really is a precursor to Led Zeppelin. Just the guitar solos are so Zeppelin in it. And around this time, they were actually playing Dazed and Confused live, which we now know Jimmy Page stole from another artist. But the Yardbirds live version is pretty damn good too. The lyrics are a little different, but yeah, Little Games by the Yardbirds is just a classic album in my opinion. Got the first Crosby, Stills and Nash album from 1969, I believe. Yeah, and it's another gatefold. You can see them there. If you're not familiar with Crosby, Stills, Nash, I feel bad for you. Some of the best harmony you'll ever hear. But David Crosby was from the band The Byrds, which I just showed you an album from. Stephen Stills was from the Buffalo Springfield, along with Neil Young, who would eventually play with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And Graham Nash was from the band The Hollies, which I believe I have an album or two by them in here. So just great stuff. And all three of those bands I mentioned are great too. And it's another one I bought. I had to buy it. There's a service called Vinyl Me Please, and they show ads on Facebook, and I saw this. I just had to buy it. 180 gram vinyl, and I just had to have it. It's Quadrophenia by The Who. This is, in my opinion, one of the greatest albums ever released. It's my favorite Who album. It alternates sometimes between this and The Who Sellout. But this album, everyone knows Tommy, you know. Tommy's the rock opera. But Quadrophenia is a rock opera too. And in a lot of ways, I think it's better than Tommy. It's just not as popular. And this is just, it's the back of it. And show you the inside. It comes with a reproduction of the book that originally came with it. I don't know if you can see it with my camera, but that's actually a book right there. That's kind of, yeah, kind of embedded into the gatefold. It's really cool, and it's got the this whole story of Pete Townsend thinking up Quadrophenia on the inside. The double album. It's just, it's an amazing album. And to me, it's really the last hurrah of The Who. This was 1973, and just everything from 65 to 73 by The Who is must have, in my opinion. After that, they came out with The Who by Numbers, Who Are You and stuff. It had some good stuff on it, but nothing like this stuff. And like I said, everyone knows Tommy and Who's Next. But really, this, Quadrophenia, and The Who Sellout are the best Who albums, in my opinion. And you should really check them out. They're just so great. Okay. Got another one that I bought at a record store I was at. Got it for $8. It's the original pressing of Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues. And this is an album which a lot of people consider to be the beginning of progressive rock, or one of the first progressive rock albums. The Moody Blues is a strange story. I mean, a lot of people think this is their first album, and in a lot of ways it is. They had an album in 1965. Forgot the name of it. It was probably just called the Moody Blues or whatever. And it's nothing like this or anything else you've heard by the Moody Blues. It's just like kind of 60s R&B kind of stuff. They had a single called Go Now, which was a hit in England. I'm not sure if it was here. And if you go listen to that song, you won't believe it's the Moody Blues. It sounds nothing. It's a pretty good song, but it's nothing like the stuff you'd end up hearing by them. And their singer at the time, I forgot his name, but he ended up leaving. And this guy Justin Hayward auditioned for the Animals, didn't get it. Eric Burdon from the Animals sent his audition tapes on to the Moody Blues, who were looking for somebody to replace their singer. So he ended up joining the Moody Blues, and the other guy from the Moody Blues who left actually ended up being in Wings with Paul McCartney. But Justin Hayward just really changed the way they sounded, and they did this album with the London Festival Orchestra, and it's hard to describe what kind of music this is. It's kind of psychedelia, and it's kind of not. I mean, it has songs like, Nights in White Satin. A lot of people know that song. Tuesday Afternoon. A lot of people know that song. But the whole album is really good, and it's the first. This one I got is on the Durham label, I think it's pronounced. Hold on, see if I can show it to you. Yeah, that's what the label looks like. This is what it was originally released on, and such a great album. Days of Future Past. Really, this album, their second album, On the Threshold of a Dream, which came out the year after, and God, I'm trying to remember what their third album's called, from 1969. I can't think of it. But their first three albums are just really, really good. And they had a few albums after that too, up to like 1972, I believe, that were good albums too. Not as good as those three, but they were good albums. Everything they did before they went on hiatus in like the mid 70s, and everything before that's just really, really good stuff. And I believe that's another one I bought. Yeah, I got this one for $8 too. I'm not sure which label this was on though. Yeah, this is a Rhino pressing of this album. It was originally on Colgim's Records. This is the Monkees, Headquarters. I'm a big Monkees fan. I know people put down the Monkees, and if you know the story of the Monkees, they started off as like a kind of a fake band. They're just hired to act, kind of like a Beatles thing. But Michael Nesmith and Peter Tork were actual musicians before this, and they kind of fought to have, be able to play their instruments on the records, be able to write songs. And that's what they did. They ended up winning that battle to be able to do that. And this is the first album that resulted from that, Headquarters, where they play the instruments, they wrote the songs, most of the songs, and it's just really good. It's just kind of a band. A band had been together for a little bit, but had never really played together, and just kind of learning how to play together. It's kind of like a garage band kind of thing. There's some really good songs on here. I'll show you the back. There they are, and like You Told Me, all the Mike Nesmith songs on this are great. You Told Me, You Just May Be the One of my favorite songs by them. Sunny Girlfriend, and you got Mickey Dolenz' song Randy Scouse Git, which is great too. I love the Monkees, and I'll never apologize for that. All right, I actually got the record on my turntable right now, so I just got the sleeve for it here. This is Aqualung by Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull, a very hard band to describe. The singer is a musical genius, Ian Anderson. Nobody named Jethro Tull in the band. I think it's based on the name. They got the name from an inventor, I believe. And the singer plays a multitude of instruments, most notably the flute, which you didn't really hear in rock and roll before this very much. But Aqualung is the biggest album by them, and you hear lots of songs from this album on the radio, like Aqualung and Cross-Eyed Mary and Locomotive Breath, songs like that. Here's the back. This is a gatefold too. Really interesting. And Jethro Tull is a great band. The old Jethro Tull, up to like the mid 70s, maybe even the late 70s, 77, 78, all good albums. And this is their commercial peak was Aqualung. This is really just started getting played on the radio, but they have really good albums before that too. All right, see what else we got here. Got Jimi Hendrix's Greatest Hits, Smash Hits. Here's the back. I think this is from, yeah, it's got to be, it came out right after Electric Ladyland, I believe, right? There's songs on here that, Jimi Hendrix was another one. His first album, at least, Are You Experienced, was different in England than America. And there were songs left off the American one, and some of those were put on here, like Stone Free. And, yeah, I don't know, it's only, like, there's not a lot of songs on it. It's like 12. And some of them I wouldn't even consider even hits. They weren't really hits at all. I mean, Jimi Hendrix, believe it or not, was really a one-hit wonder as far as singles go. So All on the Watchtower was really the only big single he had. And that wasn't even a song. It was Bob Dylan's song. But, yeah, it's on the Reprise label. It's in pretty decent shape for how old it is. So, yeah. There's that. It's probably going to be a long video, so you know, I hope you don't mind. I got Rolling Stones, More Hot Rocks, Big Hits, and Phased Cookies. It's kind of a greatest hits thing. They had the first one was like called High Tide and Green Grass or something like that. This is the second one. It's actually a double album. I actually really like the cover of that. I think it's cool. You can see kind of like where the record was, well, is. And it's got, I like the gatefold a lot in this too. It has like some old pictures of them. Yeah, really cool. Yeah, it's got basically stuff that's left off the first Greatest Hits, which was a single album. This is a double. And it's got some like old stuff that wasn't really released in the US yet. Like stuff from like first album, a bunch of covers, like the song Come On, it's a Chuck Berry song, and a couple Chuck Berry songs, but like the rest of it's just like greatest hits. Like there's even stuff from Satanic Majesty's Request on here, so really good stuff. I'm gonna say really good stuff a lot because it is really good stuff. And this is the one I was just talking about. This is the first one for that. It's High Tide and Green Grass, Big Hits, High Tide and Green Grass. It has a gatefold, but it's only a single album. But, yeah, this is the inside of it, which kind of like the Quadrophenia one, has a book. Well, not really a book, just like a few pages. Here's another page from it. There's Brian Jones there, who ended up dying. Sadly, one of the more talented people of the 60s that gets overlooked. So there's that. I knew I had some of their stuff in here. I have the Hollies' Greatest Hits. Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills, Nash is in this band. And it's just, you know, stuff like Bus Stop. People know that song. Look Through Any Window. Stop, Stop, Stop. I like the Hollies. They got some good stuff. And I believe this was right before, I don't know if you know the song Carrie Ann, but the album that was on. So this is like 66. But yeah, Greatest Hits. The cover's on very good shape. But okay, this is the second album by a band called Them. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but of them, the band Them. I can't think of his name. It's gotta be right on here, right? Oh my god. Van Morrison. Van Morrison was the singer of Them. He went on to like Brown Eyed Girl and stuff like that. But this is where he started with the band Them, and this is their second album, Them Again. They do a really good version of "It's All Over Now, Baby Blue" on it, which is a Bob Dylan song, and Beck ended up using that for the song Jackass, like the music from their version of "It's All Over Now, Baby Blue." So good stuff on Parrot Records. All right, it's one of the Who ones that my dad was able to salvage. It's really the cover's in really bad shape. Magic Bus. This is only an American release, but the record's in a lot better shape than the cover. The the sleeve. Yeah, Decca Records. It's just basically a collection of singles that hadn't been released in America yet. All right. We got the Kinks' greatest hits. I love music. I love the Kinks, and it has like "You Really Got Me," "All Day and All the Night," "Tired of Waiting for You." This is like their early hits. They went on to not necessarily bigger things commercially, but like better things. Like "Something Else" is a great album. Village Green Preservation Society. What's the one album? I can't think of the one album, but there's their late '60s and early '70s albums were really good. But that was the early stuff. This is one that not a lot of people know about, the Who direct hits. This is like weird songs that I think this is actually a British album. Yeah, it's on Track Records. These are songs that were like on. I don't know, because most of these aren't even hits. Like "I Can See for Miles" is a hit. "Substitute." The last. I mean, no, not the last time. That's a Stone song. There's two covers of Stone songs on here. "The Last Time" and what's the other one? Maybe is it just "The Last Time"? Yeah, it's just "The Last Time." But they also did a version of "Under My Thumb," which isn't on this. A lot of weird songs on here that I really like "Dogs." I think this is the only album you can get "Dogs" on. A really weird song, but I mean, I love the Who. All right, Beatles '65. Getting into some Beatles now. Anyone who knows me knows I love the Beatles. This is an American album. Like I said, they used to, cut and paste, so to speak, songs from the British versions of the albums and make shorter track listings on American albums, leading to more albums in America, leading to more money. So, yeah, this is kind of a bastardized version of Beatles for Sale, the British album. They threw on the single "I Feel Fine" with "She's a Woman." And that's what you got, Beatles '65. There you go. And it has the other Beatles albums up to that point in America on the bottom. Pretty cool. I got the sleeve is really bad shape, but this is the American Rubber Soul. I believe the British version, it's like this part's orangish. But yeah, they took some songs that were on Rubber Soul in the UK and on Help in the UK. In America, the Help album was like the songs from the movie plus the score, kind of. And in the UK, it was just a whole bunch of songs, including the songs from the movie. But yeah, this is has a different track listing. If you can see that, it has like "I've Just Seen a Face," which isn't on the British one. Yeah. And they took some songs off this. It's another one. "It's Only Love." That's not on the British one. And the ones they didn't put on this that were on the UK version, they used in a further album called "Yesterday and Today." All right, let's keep going. I got a lot of them here. Okay. I might have to start skipping a few just for time. But, man, this sleeve is in such a bad shape. But this is such a good album. This, along with, when I was talking about "Little Games" by the Yardbirds, one of the more overlooked albums of the '60s. This is by the band Small Faces. They did a song called Ichiku Park that was a hit in the US, but they were a really big band for a while in the UK. This is sort of their concept album. It's packaged kind of like, I guess, how tobacco used to be packaged. That's what it's supposed to be like. Um, Man, this is a good album. The first time I heard it as a kid, I was blown away, and I still have to listen to this. This is one of the best albums of the '60s, in my opinion. Trying to think of songs people might know off this, but it's not really. The concept album part is really kind of like the second side of the album. Has this guy, the weird British guy, talking between the songs, some weird fairy tale thing. But if you're into concept albums and stuff, check out Ogden's Dawn Flake by the Small Faces, and on the Immediate label, which is awesome because that label died a long time ago. Small Faces actually ended up becoming the Faces with Rod Stewart and Ron Wood, but they were much better when they were the Small Faces with Steve Marriott and Ronnie Lane. Great stuff. Can't say enough about that album. And here's the one I was talking about that was kind of the leftovers from the UK Rubber Soul were put on, and the leftovers from the UK Revolver. Yesterday and Today by the Beatles. This is the album. It's kind of notorious. It originally had the Butchered Baby cover, which I don't have that. I wish I did. But yeah, my dad kind of like writing on his album sometimes. It says July '66 on it. And there's the other, you can see by this point, they had so many albums in in the US. It's crazy. But yeah, it's good stuff on here. I mean, it's the Beatles. Getting back to the Small Faces, this is their first album there in America called There Are But Four Small Faces. Ichiku Park is on here, like I was talking about. Tin Soldier was another single. That's pretty cool, back of this album. Hey, I might have to skip over a few, maybe. I don't know. Man, I like a lot of these. I got the paper sticking out the top of this one. This is Donovan's Greatest Hits. You can see the songs right there on the side. I'm a big Donovan fan. He's got a lot of good stuff. He's got a cool thing. They used to put ads for other albums on the sleeves of these. So that's cool. Big Donovan fan. I mean, my favorite by him is probably Hurdy Gurdy Man, which he wrote about the Maharishi because he was with the Beatles when they went to India to meet the Maharishi. Alright, and here's the American version of Revolver. August 1966, apparently. So, yeah, to me, this is the worst example of how America used to butcher the UK albums. I mean, Revolver is, in my opinion, a lot of other people's opinions, the best Beatles album. And they really butchered the hell out of this album. I mean, the only Lennon songs left on this album are She Said, and Tomorrow Never Knows. Tomorrow Never Knows is my favorite Beatles song of all time. And I don't remember if this one's in stereo or mono. I don't remember if it says. Oh no, this is in mono. So I agree with the Rustic Reviewer when he was saying that the whole album sounds better in mono except for Tomorrow Never Knows, because the mono version of Tomorrow Never Knows leaves out a lot of the weird sound effects, especially in the middle. But Revolver's amazing. I've done a review on Revolver. I've said my piece on that. We got Between the Buttons, Rolling Stones. Just going to show them a little more quickly now. 1966 in the UK, but I don't think it was released till 67 in the US. I'm not sure. It was like Ruby Tuesday, Let's Spend the Night Together. This is the US version. Okay. Okay, I go kind of fast here. Beatles, Let It Be. Rest in Peace, Tom Petty, and the Heartbreakers, Hard Promises. Really good album. I love Tom Petty. It's so sad he's gone. Um, yeah, Bob Dylan, Bringing It All Back Home. Great. Big Dylan fan too. Bob Dylan, The Times They Are A-Changin'. Okay. Here's a good one that does not have the lenticular cover, unfortunately. But this is Their Satanic Majesty's Request by the Rolling Stones. Kind of their answer to Sgt. Pepper in a way. I think this album's really underrated. I like this album a lot. It's one of my favorite Stones albums. This is the gatefold, which is crazy. Got like a maze there and all this other stuff. If you look real closely on the cover, where you can see George Harrison right there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's George Harrison right there. And I know they have John Lennon on the front somewhere too. I try to find him real quick. Yeah, right here. Right here is John Lennon on the cover. But I love this album. If you can find it with the lenticular cover, that's even better. But it's great. I love it. 60s psychedelia, I'm just all about. This is the best Dylan album, in my opinion. Is Blonde. I'm going to cover up the name on there. Blonde on Blonde by Bob Dylan. Double album, one of the first real big rock double albums. And here's the gatefold. To me, this is the best Bob Dylan album. It's just magnificent. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's the impression people always do of Bob Dylan. They go, this is really the only real album he sings like that on. But this is really the end of the golden age of Bob Dylan, really, was this album. He got in a motorcycle accident pretty famously after that, and his music kind of changed. But love this song. I mean, this album. And I love all the songs on it. Got Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles. So, this is original on Capitol. Yep. Capitol label. Old Capitol label. I don't know if the inside has the book or not. Yeah, it does. The inside still has the book that was attached to it, the booklet, with pictures from the movie. Real crazy stuff. I mean, I love it. A lot of people. My dad was never really a big fan of the weird Beatles stuff, but I love it. I Am the Walrus is it's almost up there with Tomorrow Never Knows for me. I love that song. All right. Probably the best Monkees album ever. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones. My dad thought it was funny to draw faces on them, but it came without faces. This is the back, and really, this is a really good album. I mean, songs like Daily Nightly. The Monkees were one of the first bands. I don't know if a lot of people don't know about it, but they're one of the first bands that used the Moog synthesizer in their music, and the song Daily Nightly is amazing. Daily Nightly and Star Collector, they use the Moog synthesizer. Other great songs on that album: Love Is Only Sleeping, Pleasant Valley Sunday, everyone knows that song. Just a lot of great songs. The Davey songs are kind of on this album, but all the other ones, great. Okay, Beatles. Monkees' first album, The Monkees. Love Is All Around by the Troggs. They did Wild Thing. This is their second American album with their hit Love Is All Around on it. Of course, doesn't need any introduction. I'm not going to give it anyway. Abbey Road, The Beatles. I'm not sure if this is on the Apple label. Yep, Apple label. Awesome. Try to get at these better. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of these that are in bad shape, but another underrated 60s album, Brabajaggle by Donovan. It's his last 60s album. Jeff Beck's on a bunch of these songs. The song Atlantis is probably the most famous song from this album. I love it. Highway 61, Revisited, Bob Dylan. Another classic Dylan album. Let's see here. Got Sticky Fingers by the Stones, famous album cover. The Beatles' White Album, which is definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. It's pretty yellowed. This is from 1968, so it's going to be yellowed. It's white, you know. So, yeah, I love this damn album. I can't really say enough about it. Here's the gatefold. And just a real... That album really has all four personalities of the Beatles on it. It's really just like a mishmash of their styles, and it's great. Damn the Torpedoes, Tom Petty album. Yeah. Another Tom Petty album, the second album, You're Gonna Get It. I really like Tom Petty. It sucks he's gone. Here's the first Them album with Van Morrison, which I had to kind of tape up a little bit at the top. It has Gloria, classic 60s song, was actually written by Van Morrison. A lot of people don't know that, but this is the best version of it. If you like 60s rock and roll, kind of a Stonesy, early Stones kind of thing, check out Them. We got Wheels of Fire by Cream. Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, Power Trio, Supergroup, Cream. Just, they only had 3 albums, 4 technically. Man, they really released some great stuff while they were around. It wasn't very long. But I'll show you the gatefold. It's very bright. This is one of those albums that were like half of it was like live and half of it was studio, and kind of like Uma Guma by Pink Floyd. And the studio tracks are just amazing. Actually, the live versions are really long versions of these songs, but they're really great. I mean, this has White Room, and I mean that's the most famous song on it, but every single song on this album is good. Now we got Cream's first album, Fresh Cream. Look at Eric Clapton down here. Yeah, this is a really good album too. I Feel Free was the single. Here's the back. The first album, I don't have Disraeli Gears, which is their most famous album. But, you know, that's how it goes. Got Out of Our Heads, the Rolling Stones. We got some more Stones. December's Children and Everyone and Everybody's Rolling Stone. These are all American versions of these albums. Flowers, which is America only album by the Stones. Real hippie stuff. And Buffalo Springfield Again, which is the second Buffalo Springfield album, and the best one, featuring Stephen Stills from Crosby, Stills, Nash fame. Yeah, Mr. Soul, Bluebird, 2 of my favorite Buffalo Springfield songs. Rock and Roll Woman's a great song. Broken Arrow, Expecting to Fly. Real good stuff. Here's the back where they thank a bunch of people. And see if there's anyone notable on here. Chuck Berry, Vanilla Fudge. A lot of people. Great album. I hope, you know, if you don't know some of these albums, check them out. Even if it's not on vinyl, just check them out. They're great. The Byrds' second album, Turn, Turn, Turn. Everyone knows that song pretty much. Here's Younger Than Yesterday, The Byrds. Real good album too. Going with the Byrds here. Fifth Dimension by the Byrds, which is a really good album. 8 Miles High is on this album, and debatably that's the first psychedelic song ever recorded. It was recorded in like late '65, before the Beatles ever recorded Tomorrow Never Knows or anything. So I mean, that's a great song. It's full of great songs. Here's the back. David Crosby and Roger McGuinn. I love the Byrds. They're great. Okay, more Byrds. Their first album, Mr. Tambourine Man. So apparently I have all 5 of their original albums. Their first 5 albums on vinyl, which makes me happy. Got more of the Hollies. I'm not sure. This album just called... It's a dumb name for an album, though. Dear Eloise, King Midas in Reverse, which are basically the 2 singles from the album. They just named the album that. It's not called that in England. But another band suffering from that. Alright, Eric Burdon and the Animals, Volume 2. I love the Animals and Eric Burdon and the Animals. One of the greatest singers from that era, I think. When I Was Young, great song. Girl Named Sandoz is about LSD. It's great though. Check out the Animals if you're not totally familiar with them. This isn't an original copy. Obviously it says Best Buy series. But this is the Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane. White Rabbit, Somebody to Love. Really good band. They got a lot of good songs you've never heard, I'm sure. Check them out. Got the first Donovan album, Catch the Wind. First American Donovan album. This is just really Dylan-esque stuff. And he went on this next album with Sunshine Superman, which is totally different. Beatles 6, which is basically leftovers from the UK versions of Beatles for Sale and Help. More Eric Burdon and the Animals, Winds of Change. More Eric Burdon and the Animals, Greatest Hits. I really like Eric Burdon, if you hadn't noticed. Hey Jude album by the Beatles, which was American only, and it was kind of a ridiculous album. It was just some singles that weren't on American albums yet. Like this has Hey Jude, Revolution, but then it goes back and has like Paperback Writer, and then it has I Should Have Known Better. This was released in like 1970, 69, 70. It has I Should Have Known Better on it from A Hard Day's Night and Can't Buy Me Love. And then it has Paperback Writer and Rain from 66. And all the rest are from like 69, 68, 69, 70. It has like Ballad of John and Yoko, Don't Let Me Down. Kind of a ridiculous album, but, you know, the Beatles. What are you going to do? Crosby, Stills and Nash. The second album, Deja Vu. Oh, sorry, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Neil Young had joined them by this time. Gatefold. I love the Gatefolds. Got some Neil Young in there. Got some Dave Crosby. Stephen Stills. Good. This is a really good album. Probably their most famous album. Has the song Woodstock on it. Carry On. All that stuff. This is the Kinks album I was trying to think of the name of. Face to Face. Has Sunny Afternoon on it. This is when the Kinks kind of started to change. For the better, like in my opinion. But moving away from the aggressive, like You Really Got Me, All Day and the Night, stuff like that, to more melodic kind of, you know, songwriting stuff. And Ray Davies is a great songwriter, a very British songwriter. And I know it's a weird thing to say, a very British songwriter. Obviously he's British, but like as far as the themes and stuff like that, very British. He's not like Pete Townsend in that way. Yep, there's the back. And it is in mono. Alright, it's got a couple more. got one of the best Stones albums, Exile on Main Street, 1972, and Gatefold. All right. So you got the first Troggs album, Wild Thing. Okay. We got the Seeds. A lot of you probably have not heard of the Seeds, but they're actually a pretty good 60s band. Their singer, I forget his name, maybe I can find it on here. Or maybe not. Sky Saxon. I guess he ended up doing some other stuff after the Seeds. This is really drugged out 60s music, a web of sound. See, they're in a web, get it? And just really, really interesting 60s stuff. I really like getting into these lesser known 60s bands. That was a really good one. Yeah, kind of weird with all the other ones, but this is Hemispheres by Rush. I love Rush. Seen them 4 or 5 times live, and they're just amazing. One of the most musically gifted bands of all time. I mean, there's only 3 people in here, and you listen to the record, you think, you know, they can't. How do they reproduce this live with 3 people? They must have more people on when they play live. They don't. They have the 3 of them reproducing perfectly everything. They're amazing, and Hemispheres is a really great album. Because they were really young. It has, I think it has the lyrics, yeah, the lyrics to the songs that actually have lyrics. So there you go. Okay, what else? Almost done. Yeah, we're gonna finish it off here, I think. Oh, no, I won't finish it off. I got 2 more. The very famous, the most famous album by Rush, Moving Pictures, and then yeah, it's really messed up here. But the album itself is in really good shape, and so is the sleeves in really good shape too. Has the lyrics, and it's probably the most successful Rush album. Not my favorite Rush album, but I like it a lot. There's a lot of good songs on it. Okay, last one. Okay, here it is. The very first American, sorry, I keep adjusting my mask, it's annoying me. The very first American Rolling Stones album, England's newest hitmakers. And yeah, this is, every song on this is a cover, except for one song, Tell Me. There we go. And the song Tell Me, actually, I read a lot of books about these bands, and in order to keep up with the Beatles, their manager, Andrew Oldham, told them, you know, you gotta start writing your own songs. So they locked Mick Jagger and he locked Mick Jagger and Keith Richards in a room until they came up with a song. And that's what they came up with, Tell Me, which is a pretty good song. It's weird, the Rolling Stones' first single was actually a Beatles song, I Wanna Be Your Man. But yeah, that's the vinyl I got. I wanna get some more. Gonna wait till I get my better quality turntable to do that. But that's the vinyl I got. It's mostly old stuff. I like old stuff. I like new stuff too, but something about the old stuff, you know. But that's what I grew up on, listening to my dad's records. But that's what I got. So if I get some more, I'll show you some more. So about my videos, the football's almost over with. So going to be doing a lot more music reviews coming up. And I know not everyone likes the football videos, but I like them and some other people like them. So, but yeah, the season's just about over, so we're going to be doing a lot more music reviews and stuff like that. So got a lot of stuff coming up, got a lot of stuff planned. So, well, that was, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was really long, my longest video so far. So hope it was tolerable and hope you like seeing my albums. So Have a great day, everybody. And I don't know. See ya.